I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. I'm Megan Rogers with Happily Ever After Schnauzers, and I'm here with Amanda Shores from Nightingale Schnauzers.
Hey guys. It's been a while.
Yes, she's been so busy with moving and the baby. So excited.
Getting bigger.
Growing. But we've had so many frequently asked questions lately that we wanted to go ahead and do kind of a questions that have been asked and answers so that there is always a lot of transparency.
Yes.
So, Amanda, the question that we have been asked the most recently would be, what is the difference between pet pricing and full rights?
Yes. So pet pricing means that you are getting a pet. They are healthy. They are just like all of our other dogs. There's no difference in them other than you are not getting their registration papers to basically register them and breed them in the future. So with full rights, that is what you would get. You would get registration papers. You basically register them under whatever name that you like, and then you can then breed that dog. And so the reason that there is more money involved is because, of course, you're paying for those rights to breed that dog. And just like we do, when we go to other breeders, we pay those rights. So it's basically just a right to say, I own this dog, I have their papers, and I can breed this dog without any restrictions. Whereas a pet home, of course, is cheaper because you're not going to pay for those registration papers. And you still have the same type of dog. You still have the same type of health guarantee. However, we are not selling you those rights and those papers. So that's why it's called full rights versus pet pricing.
And there are some dogs in each litter that are not breeding quality.
Yes.
There are certain small, quote unquote, faults is what it's called.
Not to say they're unhealthy though. That does not mean that.
It does not mean that. But not every dog needs to be bred. No. And not every person needs to be breeding. Yes. So there's two sides to that. One is that when we look at our dogs, we would decide which ones would be potentially available for breeding. Yes. So there are times that you will see where we write on our pictures and things like that says pet only. And there is a reason that we are saying that this is a pet quality dog. When you are breeding, it is your job as a breeder to be bettering the breed, to be bringing more to the future lines and schnauzers in the world. And just not every dog is going to be the best specimen of that breed. So there's that side of it. And then there is the other side of the pet versus
full rights.
Full rights would be that the reason that there is a cost for those papers, as we said about the right to breed, and that we pay more. So you would almost be sick, Amanda. What did you just pay for the last breeding dog that you brought home?
We just paid right at $5,000.
That was just for the dog, not the shipping, not all the testing, not all of the other testing that has to be done by the vet when we get the dog back. Not the flight nanny. I think by the time we got the dog here and got all of this stuff done and everything was said and done, we were right at $7,000.
$8,000.
$8,000.
Yeah, with the vets. Yeah, with vet and everything. $8,000.
Yeah, so $8,000.
Yep.
But if you bought a dog that looked just like him, as a pet, what would the cost be?
As a pet looking just like him, I would say right around $3,500 to $4,000, depending on, how intense that color was, or, what about that dog, of course, made him so special, pretty much.
So half or less than what we paid. So there is that part of it. And then we get asked why we don't give papers, even limited registration, when people buy a pet.
Yes, there is dishonesty in this world. I know.
Shocker.
Who knew? But there are back doors to everything. No matter what agency you're with, there is always a loophole. And so sometimes, even with limited registration, which the AKC has dealt with, is people were getting these limited registrations, and then they were basically still registering the dog with the AKC by calling the AKC and telling them that they paid for full rights, or they registered them through another registry, and then a couple years down the road they then re-registered them with the AKC. So there are always loopholes, there's always back doors, which is why we do not give our limited registration papers.
Yes, and why we don't also send electronic copies, meaning pictures or scanning of our registration papers.
Yes.
We have just, 90% of the rules are for 10% of the people.
Yeah.
So, most people just want to know that their dog's parents are registered.
Yep.
And so we're always willing, when people
Yeah.
come to pick up their puppy, to show you registration papers in person.
We understand you want a purebred dog. Completely understand
Absolutely
that. And
fine.
we do not want to be dishonest. We want to show you that we are clear and transparent. However,
there's a huge responsibility
yes,
being a breeder and selling rights, because that is your blood, sweat, and tears that
Yes.
went into developing that line,
Definitely.
into cultivating that. I mean, both of us have lines that we have 5th generations that we have been cultivating exactly what we want to get. And then someone comes along and ruins it for everyone else by doing this dishonesty of backdooring their dog. And usually if you're backdooring your dog, it sounds really bad. There are a few, I can use the word legitimate loosely, that have done it. But they ended up taking and registering the dog without the breeder's consent and all of this, and lied. And then you are sitting here with
all of your hard work
out there with someone who, if you're willing to do that, are you really following best practices?
Yes.
When we work with other breeders, I want to see that you're doing health testing. I want to see the relationship with your vet. I want to know how you're breeding, how long you're breeding.
How you keep your dogs, what you do with your dogs.
Yes, what kind of life do they have? Where do they live? Do you have a savings account for emergencies
or vet bills that maybe come up randomly because a dog gets an eye infection, or someone, has something wrong with a tail dock, or, there are anything.
We had 4 vet visits this past week, and only 2 of them were routine. The other 2 were emergencies where a dog got choked. And we had to take her in to make sure that no damage was done, no surgery was needed. Yep. We had another one where the dog had an eye infection and needed treatment because we decided to scratch our eye, and
And dogs will be dogs.
Yeah, and I've had
dogs will be dogs.
I've had $2,000 vet bills for breaking a leg.
Yeah.
So there's just always those things, and so we want to make sure that where profit is not our motivation, we really love the breed. We love what we do because you work 365, and we want to make sure.
Money's great. We do understand that too.
Yes,
but...
and it's a business.
Yes.
When I sell breeding rights to someone, I want to know that they are going to be kept in a certain standard of care, and
my standards, what I believe and what you believe.
And so
where they need to
if my thought is, if you're willing to do it dishonestly, what other corners are you willing to cut? Yes. And then I believe, and so does Amanda, that we are responsible for our dogs their whole lives, which is why we will always take our dogs back. We will always do those things. I don't care
if your dog is 18 years old. I want them back with me if something happens.
Yep. So with that also means that we're responsible for what happens to the dog when it leaves here and somebody is breeding it irresponsibly.
And those puppies too. They're our responsibility when they come out of that dog. So that's
why. That's why we have cut pricing. That's why we feel like we do about registration and all of that.
But if you ever want to see the papers when you come to pick up your puppy,
we will show them.
Sure. Yep. We will show you those pedigrees. We'll show you those papers. And, like I said, we're trying to be transparent.
Yep. I will show you. Amanda is smaller than me. And then COVID. So she has not gone through her AKC inspection to the level that I have.
Yep.
But we are, I'm always willing to show you all of my AKC registration stuff, all of where they come out and they inspect, and they go through my records. They go through my kennels. They walk through my whole house. They go and look at every single dog I have. They will
pull randomly too. They have pulled randomly. They'll say, okay, we'll go get this dog. And if you can't supply those papers and you can't supply those certifications, guess what? You get hit for it.
Yeah. How many files do you have? I have.
Oh god.
I have files on files on
I have
files.
files
on
of dogs
every
that I
dog.
had 5 years ago
Because you
they
have to
asked
keep
about
them for 5 years.
Yes.
You are responsible for all of your paperwork, and
Yes.
there is a lot of paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
That the AKC has you supply.
Yes.
So we will show you any of that as well. We really believe in being transparent and showing you that we are doing the things
Yes.
that we are expecting others to do.
We are.
And we're also being loved on.
Yes, you see that? You saw the love that we're
You
getting.
see the love. Okay, so with breeding and being
Yes.
responsible, there is a lot of questions about how often do you breed
Ooh,
your
yes.
female?
That's a big
Oh
one.
God!
That's a big
Oh
one.
God! When? Oh
Yes.
Lord! The keyboard warriors come out and attack.
They do. They do. So,
So-
we're going to nip it in the bud today.
Yes.
So that way anyone else can look back on this and you guys can see, and we're being, again, honest with you of how we do things. So, so when it comes to breeding your dog and doing the right, the best thing, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it used to be believed that breeding every other heat was best. And that was because of, we, at the time...
Looking at dogs like humans.
Yes, pretty much. Because, we don't like to have babies constantly, of course, because our bodies can't handle that. Our bodies need to, go through our cycles and get back on track. So that was the research done. And over the years, there have been many vet professionals, researchers. They've done large and small dogs. Mind you, it is still recommended for a large dog to wait until 18 to 24 months and a small dog at least to wait until
8 months.
Yeah, between 8 and 12. Usually, though, that's how heat cycles go anyway. But still, between 8 and 12 months, they have found that we have to look at first the growth plates, how the dog is growing and how we want her body to be before she's ready to have those babies. So that's the first part. And then we want to look at how many or how often you're going to breed that dog. And so what they have found in the most recent research with vet medical professionals is that a dog's body will still go through what it feels like is a heat cycle and then pregnancy. And they don't start to go back to normal until about 6 weeks if they're not pregnant. So I know you guys have followed some of my stuff with our dog Macy. And Macy had, of course, a false pregnancy. But up until she was about to deliver, we were still having the same symptoms. We were still having the swollen tummy, and we were still having the swollen teats, and we were actually even getting milk. And it's because her body still thought it was pregnant. And even though it wasn't, there were no puppies. We did x-rays. There were no puppies. So she had to still go through that. And so what they have learned is a dog's body will still go through it no matter what. Which means that when dogs have puppies, they actually clean themselves out. So as we know with humans, we have menstrual cycles as women. And that's how our bodies clean things, or so they believe. And so the dogs, they don't have that. They have heat cycles and they have babies. So it's kind of just back and forth. Heat cycle, baby. And a baby, when they do have these babies, that kind of helps to clean everything out. They have noticed that there are more delivery complications, more pyometra cases, and more just breeding complications when it comes to a female who is bred every other heat or 1 heat a year. And so the researchers have found it is best practice to breed every heat once the female is of perfect, good breeding age. And as long as they bounce back correctly, which means that their body goes back to where it needs to be, and your vet okays it. We are always following our vet advice. If I take one of my dogs after she's, done with her puppies and they've gone home and he says, you know what, I just don't think she's ready yet, then that's fine. But if her body is in good working condition, then we, of course, with vet advice, will breed her the next time. That also means that we retire a lot earlier than they did 10, 20, 30 years ago. We now retire at the age between 4 and 6. Sometimes 7. It just, again, it depends on the dog. Because just like with us, every person's different. Every dog is different.
And that's why you have to work with a vet.
Yes. But we now usually, I say between 4 and 6 years old, will retire the adults. They used to retire them between 8 and 10. So these dogs, while yes, they're getting bred every heat cycle, they are also retiring early. And that's why we do that. So we've had a lot of questions, and we're just trying, again, to
make sure that people know that this is what our vet is recommending,
Yes.
not just we are being greeters.
And not just one vet. This is multiple vets.
Yes, any vet that specializes in reproduction.
Yes.
Which our vet does.
Yes.
So Dr. Ellis and Dr. Robertson, Dr. Ellis's favorite saying is a full uterus is a happy uterus in a dog. And when we say researchers, what we're talking about is the University of Michigan, NC State Vet School, and several other smaller veterinary schools did a 7-year research study on the health of the uterus in a dog that was never bred, and a dog that was bred every other heat cycle, and then a dog was bred every heat cycle. You want to know which one had the healthiest uterus? Overall, no matter what breed, every single time, the dog bred every heat cycle. So as science advances and we learn more and understand more, we're doing better.
Yes.
So you know more, you do better. So that is why we do it this way. It is because it is what is best for our dogs.
Yes.
And there are times we don't breed every heat cycle.
Yeah.
There have been times that we have skipped heat cycles because the dog had complications. And a cesarean section is not a complication that causes that. But there are certain times that certain things happen that cause a mom that they need to skip a heat cycle.
Yes.
And that is a decision that should only be made with your veterinarian who has actually looked at your dog, followed your dog, done exams, and that kind of thing. Not just ask a vet what they have to say.
Yes.
Actually, a vet that works
that knows
with
your
breeders.
dogs, that knows what they did in the past and knows what they're doing now and knows that, this is the male that she was bred with or, before, and how many puppies did she have? And, when it comes to retiring a female too, we also look at, is her litter size going down? Because that means that maybe her eggs aren't as good as they were. And that happens again, even with humans. We are born with the amount of eggs that we're going to have.
Yeah, because that's why you had to retire Lindsay Beth at 4.
I did. She was 4 years old, and honestly, we just kept having, a complication. We had 2 pregnancies. Each time having a complication, I worked closely with my vet, and the vet said, it's time. And at that point, we did not let her keep going through heat cycles. We spayed her. And so she was spayed. We took out that uterus, and she is a healthy, happy, bouncing. I call her a little bunny because that's what she is. She's a little bunny rabbit. But she
and it's okay because we have Prince, her beautiful son, to carry on that line.
Yes.
So it's okay that she retired.
Yeah, because I still, I now still have that line. So that's, the big thing.
And she lives happily with your mother-in-law.
She does.
And you get to see her and love on her. And you're actually grooming her today.
I am, yes.
So we do care about our dogs once they leave us, too.
Yes.
And they don't live with us anymore. We like to keep up with them and know how they're doing. Yes. We care about our dogs. We truly do. Mm-hmm. So the other thing on the flip side of this coin, which was not something we were going to talk about today, but I think it warrants being brought up.
Let's do it.
Is this kind of goes along with 20 years ago, you spayed and neutered at 4 to 6 months.
Oh, yes.
That was what every vet told you. If you were a good pet owner, you better, Amanda.
Yes, I know.
You better spay or neuter at 4 to 6 months.
And there are still there's still believers.
There is. It depends when they graduated vet school.
It is. Yes.
So the vets that are going through the Penn State Vet School, Dr. Zick, who is the veterinarian of the year, who specializes in golden retrievers and all things ortho, hips, and things like that in dogs. They have now done multi-year study, and science says, when should you spay and neuter your
between
dog?
18 and 24 months, and that does not matter if it is a small breed or a large breed. However, if needed, you can do a small breed between 10 and 12 months if it is just they have to get neutered or spayed, because some parents don't like to deal with different issues. So
don't get me started on males. That is such bull crap.
Yes.
I don't even.
So
we started,
and the reason
but our contract
is,
says 11 months. You cannot spay or neuter a dog that you get from us before 11 months because
that dogs, just like with us as we grow, have growth plates. And we're not allowing those dogs to finish their growing because we're taking away the hormones. So think about if we took away the hormones of a child that is supposed to be a woman or a man growing up. They're not going to have the hormones that they need for their body to grow the way it needs to grow. So what you're having now is more ACL tears, more hip dysplasia. And even in small dogs, this is not just large dogs, but for the most part, yes, large dogs were showing a huge I guess, climb in this, on all the graphs. So they're having ACL tears, hip dysplasia. We're also having more of the long bones. So those
Look
long
at your
bones,
Great Danes that are massive now.
yes, so they're growing longer, and that does not mean that you're going to have a dog that's 10 feet tall. No. What it means is those bones are growing a little bit longer, so the tendons are having to stretch more. And so then you're going to have more tendon tears. But without those hormones, then your body, or their body, is not telling them when to stop. Because the hormones do that. They say, oh, well, no. You need to grow this much, and then that's it. And we're taking away those hormones. And sexual hormones are what do that. The estrogen, the testosterone. Those are what tell those bones to grow and to not grow. Because guess what? Dogs go through puberty just like we do.
I know. And imagine all the humans that deal with osteoporosis
yes.
after they stop having estrogen. It's
yes.
really all chemical.
Yes, it is. It is. And so,
you have a Shih Tzu that you've had forever.
Yes.
That was an owner surrender to you.
He was.
That
Everyone knows him. Everybody
knows Marco.
Yes.
The
colorful Shih Tzu.
Yes, the one that always looks like
Yep.
cotton candy and rainbows.
Yep.
And he was neutered early and
He
has
was.
major hip issues.
He does. He has, he actually was diagnosed with hip dysplasia at a year old. And that was not because, I just took him to the vet and demanded that they, of course, diagnose him. No, he has problems. He has problems with his hips. When I groom him, in fact, we groomed him not too long ago, and he, every time that I go to move one of his back legs, he has a special one, I call it his special one, that I go to move, he immediately screams. And it's because of that hip. Now, he is on joint, of course, joint supplements.
But once they have these problems,
they don't
there's
go away.
no reversing it. You can just treat
Yes.
the symptoms.
Yes, exactly.
And that's all
what
you
we
can do for Marco.
Yeah. And he's had hip x-rays. This is not just vet diagnosing on site. No, this is, his clinical test being done, and this is what it shows. And he's a small breed. He is a Shih Tzu. You don't hear of small breeds really getting hip dysplasia until now. And that's what the vet community is finding. And so most new vets, or I'd say within the past 10 years, are seeing that, hey, let's hold off on spaying and neutering these dogs. And we're seeing healthier dogs now because of it. So yeah. But I'm glad we touched base on that because I get asked that question all the time.
Yeah, people are like, oh no, my vet said 6 months. Get a second.
Guess what? You're your dog's advocate. We are not at all saying that vets are always wrong. Not at all. But some vets are still dealing with the old research. And so do your own research. Look it up yourself. Be your dog's advocate. Yep. Because they need you because they don't have a voice.
And
so
just like we tell people, anything we're telling you on here, please go read this.
Yeah.
Go read the study.
Definitely.
Go read the articles written on the study of why we breed back to back, of the people that backdoor papers and why breeders are having such a hard time with that.
Yep.
And then do a little bit of research on puppy mills. It won't take too long and you'll feel sick and you'll know why we are so such an advocate for our breed and wanting to make sure that we're only dealing with responsible and ethical breeders.
Yes.
So that is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Another question. You ready?
I don't know.
Can you talk anymore? I know her allergies are going crazy and she's trying to forego all medication because she's pregnant.
Yep.
I need to slip her a Benadryl. But she sounds so pitiful.
Yeah, I do.
But it's gonna be worth it. Just a few more months.
It will.
The spring.
Yes.
Josie, you are such a goober. She has no attention, no love.
Never gets attention.
She's afraid of everything. She's just horrible. I'm kidding. In case people don't understand sarcasm.
Josie loves everybody.
She is very loving.
She also loves to steal the spotlight too, which is why she's acting the way she's acting.
Yeah, she's like, my girl is at school. I need somebody else to love me.
Yes.
So, I call it a first look deposit.
Yep.
And Amanda calls it a spot deposit. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? Because there are so many miscommunications on this.
Yes. So that means that you are interested in getting one of our puppies. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that you get the next litter because we do have a wait list. And that's where these deposits come in. But it's basically a smaller sum of money to put down a deposit on our puppy list to get a puppy. And that puts you a spot in line. So first look, spot deposit, same thing. But it basically is $100. And it lets us know that you're serious. That you want one of our puppies and that, this is the route you want to take and you've researched us and we are the breeders for you and you want to get in line to get one of our puppies. Now, sometimes that wait might be 2 weeks. Sometimes that wait might be 6 months. So it just depends on your preferences.
Yes.
But what that does is basically we send out a form that you check off your preferences, and because I'm pretty sure you saw that form, yeah. So you check off your preferences, and we will send you that form. When you do decide to put down that spot or first look deposit, and you fill out and tell us, hey, I want this puppy or this color puppy or gender, male or female. You send it back to us, and then okay, now when we go down our list and we start to have puppies, we say, okay, this guy wants this color puppy and wants this gender. Oh, we have that available. Okay, we're going to contact you. And then at that point, we have what's called a reserve deposit, I think is what you call it.
Yes, reserve deposit.
Yep. So reserve deposit, or I call it a hold deposit because it holds the puppy but reserves the puppy, same thing. And what that is basically we're letting you know you have a puppy. If you decide that this is what your family or you yourself want, this is the puppy for you. It lets us know that you are in it for this puppy. And so it is a $400 another deposit. Both of these deposits go towards the purchase price. So it's not an extra. It goes towards the purchase price.
Yes.
And then, that puppy is yours. No one can take that away from you. You're going to get that puppy. So again, it lets us know that you're serious. This is the puppy for you. And in another, 7 weeks, that puppy is in your lap and ready to go home. So again,
but Amanda, what if it's bad timing, or what if I changed my mind and I don't want salt and pepper, now I want black and silver?
Well, that's okay, because all you gotta do is tell us, and if that's not the puppy for you, then you pass, and that's okay. And then at that point, you're not gonna lose your spot on the list. We're not gonna just take you off. We're gonna say, okay, we're gonna hold to the next one, and then we go to the next family, because the next family's waiting. And so normally we give everyone 24 hours to decide. And I know that's not too much time, but we have a lot of people on our list. So we want to make sure everyone gets the right amount of time to get that puppy. But yes,
but also at the point that you are getting information on a puppy, we've already done the, you like me, I like you, we're willing to work together. Yes, this is just a which puppy question, not all the other stuff.
And you can still ask questions. Ask any of our clients that have gotten puppies I'm still answering questions for people who have my puppies 3 years ago. Yes. But it's just, you have that trust in us, and we trust you because now you're a part of the family, and we take family seriously. So you're now a part of it, and you get one of our puppies. And so that's kind of why we do 2 separate types of deposits, because the first one lets us know you're serious, you want on the list, we are the breeders for you. The second one is just, hey, that's my puppy. And so that's how we do things.
Yep. And it's and the other thing is that people get, so yesterday, out of all the puppies that we had, and I didn't even share pictures of all of them, we went through our list, and there were a few that didn't meet the right criteria for families, or they, it was the right color, wrong gender, things like that. And so then we released those pictures to the public. But the benefit of being on the first look list is that you get to see any of our puppies prior to us publicly releasing them.
Yes, you do.
So that way, you might say that you really, really wanted a salt and pepper, but then you see a salt and pepper party that is just absolutely adorable, and you still have the chance to reserve that puppy. It doesn't mean that you can only get a puppy that matches your preferences. If you're at your spot on the list, then, once you're at the quote-unquote top, you get first look of any of the puppies. Yes. But if you're not on that list, then you just have to wait and see what everybody else didn't choose.
We have a lot of people who, I know on my page, and I know it's on your page too, they see all these puppies being posted. And I will tell you, for the most part, they're all sold, because we go down our list first. So we don't announce these guys to the public until our list has, been gone through and everyone's been asked, hey, do you want this puppy? And so if you see a puppy posted, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's available. Just remember that. If you don't get on our list, now we're not saying you have to go with us. By all means, there's breeders. But if you are not on our list and you want a puppy from us, we can't guarantee you're going to get one unless you're actually on the list. Yep. I've had a lot of people get really confused about that. They just wait until we have litters born. I will tell you, most of our litters are sold before they're even conceived.
because we've already planned based on what's on our wait list. I mean, Amanda and I, the last week she was here, sat down and we're like, okay, what's on your list? What's on my list? What is the public wanting?
Took a couple of hours.
Going through who would be in heat, would this mom, looking at genetics, looking at pedigrees, what colors,
do you have? What males do I have?
To make sure that we're breeding for what people want, because we want our puppies to have homes.
Yes.
So, that's how that part works. We have a couple questions, so I was gonna hit on those. So,
pull them up through here?
Yeah. What about males that have retained testicles? So we still have heard that from the research, and actually I sat in on 2 conferences with Dr. Zick right before COVID. That was. They still, even with the retained testicles, they're still getting the hormones, and that's what it's about. Yep. So with retained testicles, yes, you do need to move those out, because if they're sitting inside the body, which is what retained testicles is, they are not able to regulate their temperature, and they have a higher risk of cancer.
And they have to regulate. They do, they
just
move,
like humans.
They move closer to the body when they're cold. They move away from the body when they're warm. And that's because they have to regulate in order for the appropriate sperm production and the vitality of the sperm. And so, but it can also cause cancer.
So, waiting until your dog is between 1 to 2 years old, based on what you and your vet have actually discussed for your dog's growth, looking at their bones and their teeth and all of these things to see how far they are, because every dog grows at a slightly different rate.
They do. Mm-hmm.
That's why your vet has to help you make that call. You're still going to have the testicles removed before you're running risks of cancer, but they still are getting hormones from retained testicles.
Yes, they are, because they're there. So it's not like they're not.
So let's see. Thank you, Danny, for agreeing with back-to-back breeding. Do you recommend pet insurance? Okay. I have some serious thoughts on this. So, for those of you who know, my father is a certified financial planner. He owns a firm in Pennsylvania. And I actually asked him about this. I said, looking at it from a financial perspective, what's your thoughts on pet insurance? And his answer made a lot of sense to me. So his answer was, are you the type of person that if your dog got hit by a car, and the average cost of a dog that's hit by a car is anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000.
It is. Mm-hmm.
For emergency vet care, to your standard vet happens to be open and you lucked out and you're at $2,000. If you go to the emergency vet, $5,000. That's the average cost in the United States.
Let me just preface that. It can go up to 8 and 10, depending on the, extreme, injuries. So it just depends. So
How do you feel about your dog?
Yeah.
Would you refinance your house? Would you take out a loan? Would you do everything it takes to save that dog? Or are you the type of person that says, oh, that sucks, put her down, get a new one? Yeah. I'm not here to debate with you here.
That's
okay? That is not, I'm not touching that. No. With a 10-foot pole.
No.
The point of that question is, if you're that person, then, and you don't have a savings account that has at least $5,000 in it, and an open credit line with somebody like Care Credit to cover whatever else, you need pet insurance. Yeah. So we're both partnered with Trupanion. They do a whole background check on you for your program, how you raise your dogs, veterinary care. Yep. And if you are approved by them, then you can offer with your puppies 30 days of free insurance. Mm-hmm. We get nothing out of this. No. There's no money, no kickback. Zero. I have nothing in it other than we both feel that when you have paid a substantial amount of money,
you took an investment. This is your investment into your dog, into your next family member. It's an investment.
And in the next 30 days, if your dog breaks their leg, or let's see, you trained and I bred Kenai, and he got choked on a piece of food and I actually get the emails when people use it in the first 30 days that he had a $1,200 vet bill. Well, they paid out $1,200. Let me say that. Yeah. So they pay 90%, and there's no deductible. The deductible is $250. There's no cost to you for the first 30 days. After that, the cost of it is based on what deductible you choose. Yes. So based on your savings, to me, would be what is your deductible. If you don't have much savings, then maybe you should go with the $250 deductible. Yep. If you have $1,000 in savings at all times, maybe you want to go with $1,000 deductible. That's a family decision to make without me present. No, but
that's up to you.
But then you know that should your dog get hit by a car, you don't have to take out a loan, or if you can't get the money, put your dog down. So pet insurance, I think, is always a good idea. If you're looking at spending $2,000 on a dog, what is $20 a month for pet insurance? Because they cover...
It's not that expensive. Not that expensive.
Well, depending on the...
That's true.
I'm just saying average of if you have a lower deductible, it's
it also depends on how many pets you have, too. But still...
Yes, there's so many factors. So call and find out. Shop around. I mean, Trepanion's not the only one.
No.
There are lots to look into and pros and cons of each of them. But... insurance as a whole,
yes.
If you are that type of person, which I'm going to be honest, most of the people that buy the dogs from us, I want you to be that person, and I've judged you to probably be that person, or I wouldn't let you have one of my dogs, because I'm that person. Yeah. Amanda and I were talking the other day about how we were looking at one of our dogs that might need a C-section a few months ago, and she's like, oh my gosh, I just had 3 back-to-back emergencies, and I was like, it's fine, I'll pay for it. Yeah. And
but it happened.
She would. The dog didn't need a C-section, but we were worried about it, and we were like, okay, no, I still have my emergency fund, and we will get this dog a C-section because we're that kind of people. Yeah. And if the situation was reversed, I know she would do the same for me. So, we are that person, but we keep that, and usually unless you have 3 emergencies back to back before you have more puppies go home, because we keep a certain amount of money out of each breeding and litter, I should say, that we put back for C-sections, broken legs, all kinds of things that happen because things happen.
Vet bills.
So with that, yes, I would recommend pet insurance.
I would.
Which one, what type? That's
do your research.
So on an individual basis. Yes. But yes, pet insurance is a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do you look for in a puppy to qualify for it to be breeding or show quality? And what do you look for in a puppy in non-breeding quality? Okay.
So it depends on...
So number one, show quality. Yeah. I would never judge that because I am not a show breeder. I do know people that do it. Yeah. And I would absolutely refer somebody looking for that to them because I do not breed for show.
And we are very upfront about that. If we have someone contact us and say,
we send them
I'm looking for a show prospect, I'll say, well, I will send you to the breeder that you need to go to.
Because you need champion lines, and that is not what we do. We breed for disposition and health, and so we're looking at completely different things than a show dog.
Yes.
For a dog to be good breeding quality, we're going to be looking at embark testing because there are certain dogs that are carriers that we have, and we're going to put them with a non-carrier. Yep. But we would want that litter, because we actually have one right now, actually 2 litters we're testing right now, to keep potentially from, and so we're waiting to get those results back to know that they are clear, because we are trying to work towards having not even carriers for any problems.
All clear dogs.
And, you know, a lot of times it's IVDD, which is...
it's a disc disease, basically.
Yeah, introvertible disc disease.
Yeah, introvertible disc disease.
I'm sure if I say it online, it's going to be wrong. But IVDD is not something that really affects Schnauzers majorly. It would be a major issue in dachshunds, but we still would like to breed it out.
Yes.
So when we have a dog that carries for 1 or 2 things, we're not going to sell the offspring. When that dog finishes breeding, we're going to close that line down unless it is a health tested one. So there are a few dogs, we really love them and we want to keep that line, but we need to make sure we're not going to be continuing that disease. Or
and that's why we genetically test.
So that's part of it. So with this dog that we are waiting on these tests to come back to decide on that. So, but we would also be upfront with a breeder that is like, hey, I'm interested in this. We'd be like, okay, awesome. We need to do some health testing. We would be sharing those things.
Now, just because they're a carrier does not mean that they're unhealthy. Does not mean that
it just means that they could pass it on. And if you put them
with another carrier or with one that already has that disease, then you're going to have puppies, of course, that have that.
So Salem and Bomber could not go together, even though that was my dream breeding, because they both are a carrier for PMDS. So they don't have it, but they carry it. And if you have 2 carriers, they can have a child that has it. Yes. So we know that we can't breed that. And then before we save from her, so Amanda has one of her daughters, and so she had to be genetically tested, and she did not carry it.
She was clear.
So she was fine, so we could keep from that line. But that's part of what goes into it. And also, There are certain things that you would be looking at. So, retained baby teeth, bites, things like that. Those are things you want to look at.
We look at conformation not on a show level, but we look at their body type. We want to make sure that they don't have, anything structurally wrong with them. And again, not to say that this puppy wouldn't be fine in a pet home, but when we're talking about a female who's going to be carrying litters and, getting that extra weight on their body and seeing how, what it's going to do to their body, that's different. And even in the show world, they will tell you if they are off, conformation wise, then they're great for pets, but not so much for breeding and showing. And so some of it goes hand in hand with showing, and some of it does not when it comes to our look.
And the other thing is, how many dogs have you retired because they were not good moms?
Oh, so many. Yes.
And we didn't keep their daughters either.
No, we did not. In fact, one of them, I don't know if you've been with me from the very beginning, one of them was Belle. And I loved her. I love her mom. Her mom's with another breeder, but I loved her. She was so cute. Cute little white girl. Oh my goodness. She had little teddy bear look. So I was like, okay, this is my dream girl. And she hated it. She hated birthing.
So bad.
She hated being a mom. I had to make her be with these puppies. And I'm sorry. I am not going to torture her doing that. I'm not going to torture the puppies. And I'm also not going to torture myself. So if she doesn't want to do it, and this is not just with one breeding. I mean, this is, we tried her twice. And at that point, I made the decision when she was almost 3 years old. Okay, you know what? You don't like, that's okay. We're going to retire you and you're going to live out your days as a pet. And she is a wonderful pet. The family loves her. And she loves being their pet, but she hated being a mom.
Yep, I've had two moms that I retired for the same reasons. Yeah. And I did not keep their daughters because there's a lot of... We usually see if it was a good mom and then she had a daughter and she was a good mom, we know that we keep breeding that line that they love being moms, and that's and we enjoy that.
Lindsay Beth, oh my goodness, she would steal other dogs' babies because she loved being a mom. She loved having them there. But again, we have dogs that don't like being
like it,
and we're not.
So I would be honest with the breeder because I have some that aren't the best moms, and I'm like, you know what? When Sunkissed, I loved her. She was wonderful. I did not keep any of her daughters, because she was a good mom, but she hated other puppies, and she had a super, super high prey drive. Like she wanted to kill my chickens. She was obsessive with squirrels and all of that, and so she was a great pet, but I never sold her daughters to breeders, and I didn't keep any. So those are
we didn't want that prey drive.
Yes, we want to die that down. Yes. It's never going to be gone because they are terriers, but it can be a lesser. Yes. So those are things that go into what we decide.
People love her puppies, though. Like, it's not like there was anything wrong with her puppies. People love her. In fact, even Belle's puppies, the people who got them, they loved them. It's just, and they may not necessarily turn out
I never sold any of her puppies to people that lived on farms.
Yeah.
I was very upfront with that I didn't think this is going to be a good fit.
Kill a couple chickens.
And we're also transparent about like her hatred of squirrels. We discussed that with people that got her puppies. Like she literally would fixate on wanting to kill them. It was like she was afraid they were trying to kill us and she needed to protect us.
We're very open about how our dogs' personalities are. So if you're ever like, hey, how is this mom and dad? We are very open to tell you, hey,
because
this
we actually
guy loves
know
playing
our
with the ball, and this, this one loves to lay on the couch with you. And so that can kind of also help you decide what mom or what puppy you want. What do you want as a family?
Yeah, our first question that Tracy or I ask when we talk to people is, what is your lifestyle?
Yeah. What do you do?
And be honest, not your ideal self. Like, my ideal self goes hiking every weekend.
Goes
and all
jogging
that.
down the street. No.
Yeah. Yeah. In my other life, before children, I loved to run and all that. But that's not my life now. My life now is being on the farm, hanging out with my kids, movie nights on Friday night.
Family time.
Yeah, hanging out at the soccer field. So I need a dog that wants to go and play, but also can chill. So I need a moderate energy level. Yes. But my mom, her dog needed to have, loves its daily walk. Oh, yeah. But the rest of the time will chill on the couch with my mother.
That's what she needed.
And that's what she needed. So being honest with me will help me be like, okay, this puppies would be awful. And the thing is, you will hate that dog.
Yes.
The dog will hate you.
I don't want you to hate my dog.
You will hate me.
Yes.
And then I'm going to end up with a dog, and then I'm going to have to pay... Amanda and Taylor to rehabilitate the dog and find the right home for a dog that has been in an awful environment because it was a go person and the dog would lay down on the trail, or it was a really laid back family and the dog was a Zazu baby who had a ball in its mouth 24/7 and wanted to play.
If you have an active lifestyle, kids, Zazu babies are the way to go. If you want to go and sit down on the couch and watch, Criminal Minds and Grey's Anatomy, and you just want to chill, Zazu babies are not what you want to do. So it's because they're just high energy. They love to go. They love to do.
They're beautiful.
Beautiful. Yes.
But so that's why before we ask people what you're looking for in color or gender, we need to know.
Yes. And we'll still ask you those questions.
Yes.
But I want you
to
be
like, okay, now I have in my head, you need low energy level, or you want to walk a lot, but you need a very calm dog because
what personality,
that kind of thing. And then so you say, I want a black Schnauzer, then I know, okay, ting, 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 these 3 moms are who we can look at. We're not even going to show you the ones over here because it just would be a bad fit, and that's not our goal.
No.
So let me see if we have any other questions that I did not answer yet.
More? Oh, up top, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't gone all the way back, so I was like, okay. Is cancer a common thing in Schnauzers?
So, touching on this, cancer is common in everything. I mean, that's like asking if cancer is a common thing in human beings. Like, that's just, not to say it's a bad question at all, but cancer comes, and no one knows what causes it necessarily, other than, okay, well, it could be like cancer is due to this happening in the body, but it happens, and it happens in all breeds. It may be more prone in certain breeds due to
certain types of cancer.
Yes, exactly, certain types of cancer. So it may be more prone in, let's say, breeds that are a lot of the times overbred. Breeds who the genetics just don't mix well.
You see a lot of it in golden retrievers.
A lot of it in
golden retrievers. And German Shepherds.
And that is because one of the reasons that they have found is because those breeds, unfortunately, have been overbred. Meaning, not that they're having litter after litter. It just means that they weren't looking at these dogs in a health/genetic testing type of situation. They were, and again, this is way back when. Like, this is not right now.
Embark has not been around that long.
No, it has not. So they were looking at, okay, we're going to breed for size, and we're going to breed for, what this dog can do, and, just the personality of the dog. And then lately, from, I'd say, 20 years back to now we're looking at, we need to start looking at what these dogs carry for, and, how healthy are they? What are their hips looking like? So golden retrievers are one that cancer runs really high in. With Schnauzers, it's not like, I would say
there's a prevalency problem, but you do see it a lot after they are 12.
Yes. And
sometimes 8, depending on the lines.
Yes,
which we do a lot of research on pedigrees and following, not just our puppies, because you are wanting to look beyond. You're wanting to look multiple generations back. What do you see?
Yes.
And that's why we keep from our own lines, because I'm like, okay, I love, like, Bella Grace was one of my first females. I absolutely love her. I got her from Carolina Legacy. Great dog, and I have her great granddaughter. Yeah. And super happy with her. But those are fabulous lines. Yes. They have everything that I wanted, and disposition, and look and health. So when you're looking at that, pancreatitis is more of an issue, but that's really dietary. It's kind of like the American Indians or Native Americans. I don't know if I'm saying this right. I'm not trying to be like not PC, not at all. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because when they started eating the Western diet, the ones that were from the desert ended up almost all of them having type 2 diabetes. The reason was because of their metabolism levels and the way that they dealt with that. They couldn't handle our type of diet. And so Schnauzers is the same way. They cannot handle high fat and high protein.
That's why we tell you when you pick up your puppy, make sure, if you don't stay on the food that we recommend, make sure it is a fat content that is lower. And that helps to prevent pancreatitis. Now, you can't always prevent it. It could be something you
even
can't
when you
prevent.
feed an excellent diet, there are some dogs that are more predisposed to it. Yeah. Just like humans that are more predisposed to type 2 diabetes. Yeah. You may be more predisposed to it. You can do everything to try to not get it, and you may not have it, and you may still get it. Yeah. And so we do follow our lines as of this day. no pancreatitis in my lines or Amanda's. And we really try to follow that because both of us got genetically bad bred dogs in our past. And not necessarily just Schnauzers, but other dogs that we grew up with and things like that. Yeah. And we don't want that heartbreak for other people.
No, I definitely do not. And, it's not necessarily that the people who sold us these dogs were, like, they knew they were badly bred. It's not that. It's just that we know more now. We know what to look for now.
Unfortunately for me, the two that I got that come to mind, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were So, I'm just going to say, if people follow my blog, they're like, that's not what she said.
Well, for me, anyway. But yes, I mean, people are dishonest. They do give you bad lines, bad dogs. Not saying the dogs were bad, but I guess unhealthy.
Yes,
dogs.
Not what you need to be breeding. And again, that's the thing. If you have a dog that is a carrier for IVDD, not going to be a problem. Never going to be an issue for you having a pet. As long as you keep a healthy weight on them, they're going to be fabulous. There's nothing to worry about. They're a carrier. They don't actually have it. But for me, when I'm looking at breeding stock, I'm not going to want to buy that because I want to breed the best of the best and the most healthy because that is what an ethical breeder does.
Which is why we are breeding to get healthy, clear lines. And when we say clear, we mean clear,
no carrier, no variant, no nothing. It says 100% clear.
Check.
Yep. But the longer they keep working genetics, the more they bring up other things that we didn't know about.
Oh yeah, they do it all the time.
In fact, the dogs that I had, 5 years ago, I only had to look for one heart thing and two.
Like there's eyes.
2 eye things. That was it. That was all I did. I needed to take them. I'd go to a dog show, and they'd have vets there, and I'd pay $45 for this, $100 for that,
and then more expensive now. Let me just preface that.
This was years ago, especially COVID. Oh my God, vet costs. Oh my God. Up. Food costs. But anyway, 5 years ago, that's all I had to do. And that was the best that you could do. That was you being the most proactive that you could be. And now there's 276 different things they test when we send in our DNA.
And I think they add something every time. I swear they add something every time.
I know. It used to be that you couldn't check for the R-Locus gene. Now you can check for the R-Locus gene. I mean, literally, his testing came back almost 2 years ago, and there are so many more things on the tests that I've just gotten back on my newer studs that are upcoming that haven't even bred yet than there were on his because 2 years there's more, so
they're learning more, they're doing more, and we like that. Like, I'm glad that they're doing that, but at the same time, it's like, oh, so that's what that is.
So yes, if you have any other questions, please feel free to send us a message, either one of us, Nightingale Schnauzers or Happily Ever After. Please definitely like our video so that more people get to see it, and like our page.
Yes.
And that way you will be notified. Yes. It's not an hour, it's a separate thing. But we're sister kennels, we work together. So if you have a deposit with one, it's good with the other. We work together. And you'll see our dogs. So people are even like, hey, didn't I see that dog? And no, yes, technically Prince belongs to Nightingale, and technically Saint belongs to Happily Ever After, but our goal is the best Schnauzers, so we work with them. And the same thing, Carolina Legacy, Gold Hill Farms, they also are like, do you need our mail? Do we need your mail? Because our goal is the best, most healthy Schnauzer in what people are looking for across the board. That's more important to us than only my lines are for me, and they're so special that no one else can touch them. You cannot touch them, Amanda. Don't touch my lines.
I'm done.
So anyway, like our pages because we go live together and separately. So we definitely are both getting to the point where puppies are going home and new puppies are getting old enough to play.
As much like live things, I promise we'll get back to it. We're just super busy, and there's a lot of puppies going home recently, so I will make sure we get those to you.
And you know what? Also, everybody cross your fingers, knock on wood, Amanda's house is under contract. Yay! So hopefully I've got my fingers crossed that she's moving closer to Davie County and farther away from Guilford. But it's going to be what's ever best for their family, the new baby, and Henry, and Amanda and Taylor. And, we're still here working in our amazing amount of construction. The fact that Hope hasn't left me yet through the gigantic 3 construction projects that we have going on is amazing. So, but there is so many cool things to come. We